Okay. The time is now 6 p.m. Today is March 5th of 2024, and I call to order this meeting of the Tipp City Exempted Village School. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Stevens, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Drum?
Here.
Mr. Main? Here. Mrs. Dillard?
Here.
Mrs. McMurray?
Here.
And Mr. Thompson? Here. All present and accounted for. We can continue with the meeting.
Okay. At this time, I will take a motion for approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion for approval.
Moved by Mr. Maines.
I'll second.
And seconded by Mr. Thompson. Sorry. All right, Mr. Stevens will take a vote.
Drum?
Oh, wait.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, is there any discussion? Sorry, guys. Any discussion? No, wait. Vote, kidding, just kidding.
There we go. Maines?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Drum?
Yes.
Dillard?
Yes.
McMurray?
Yes. Okay. Is there any discussion?
Well, discussion first,
Well,
then vote. We're okay.
just kidding. It's fine. I did want to add something, but it's under upcoming meeting, so we'll just discuss it then. We'll be fine. Okay. Next, we are going to move to a presentation from Red Tree Investment Group. This is in regards to our last meetings when Mr. Stevens brought up things. So do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. I'll just stay seated. So at our last regular session, I brought up the idea of opening an investment firm or an investment account with Red Tree Investment Group, so to better handle our investments, because right now they're sitting in a Fifth Third Investments account and they're not really doing anything. And I've heard a lot of good things about Red Tree and have been wanting to move to them for a while. And the board last month's meeting said we'd like to see if we can have them come in and speak with us. So I've asked Joe Violand to come in and just talk a little bit about Red Tree and what they can do for the school district. And so I'll turn the time over to Joe and let him wow you.
Perfect. Thank you, Dave. If you don't mind, I'm just standing right here so I can just kind of address the whole room. So I am Joe Violand with Red Tree Investment Group. I've had a few conversations with Dave over the last few months, and that's kind of what brought us here today. So I'm here to provide just some more information about who we are, what we do, and how we work with our clients. And then throughout any of this, just feel free to stop me and ask questions. It was more interactive in that way instead of waiting to the end. So thank you for having me here tonight. I have prepared some slides in front of you. The first one is just truly who we are, a big kind of overview. We are a public fund investment firm. We are based in Cincinnati, and our sole focus is investing public funds. We work with just about over 300 public entities in Ohio, and just about 225 of those are K-12 schools or career centers. So of like the 600 school districts in Ohio, we work with more than a third of you all. We're very involved in the OASVA organization, which I'm sure you all are very familiar with. So we actually do a lot of the continuing education for treasurers as well as it relates to investments. But I think the point here is this is all we do as public funds. We're not a private wealth manager. We're not a bank. We don't do anything else. So our truly sole focus is working with entities that look like you. We work with school districts, counties, cities, townships, you name it. Smells like a public fund. That's who we work with across the state. And right now we manage just about $8 billion in total public funds. The next page, this exact local client list was provided on the one page that I'm sure Dave provided to you all, but we always give this just to give a sense of familiarity. Like, we didn't just pop up overnight. We've been doing this for a long time. The two owners of the firm, they co-own the firm 50-50. They've been doing this for over 20 years. I myself have been doing this for about 10 years. So
Is that Jennifer and Ryan?
Jennifer and Ryan, correct. You got it.
Hi.
I'm sure you've seen them many, many times over the years. So as an advisor, there's a process that we go through. It's not just, hey, I see you have some operating funds, like let's just go ahead and invest that. That's not how that works at all. It starts with conversations like this and building that trust, and then learning more about the district. What are your cash flows like? Where have you come from? Where are you now? And maybe what do you expect to do in the future with your funds? And then with that, and some other things on here is looking at risk tolerances, looking at the district has an investment policy. I'll talk about that in a second, and following that. With all that in mind, in Ohio Revised Code, we come up with a plan and a strategy about how this could work. As an advisor, we do carry a fiduciary capacity. So when we do, if we would engage with the district in that fiduciary capacity, any recommendation or investment decision that we would make has to always be in the best interest of the district. That is required by our registration of being an investment advisor by law. Not only that, it's the right thing to do, right? Mm-hmm. Next page here. I like to go over this part first before we really dive into other details, is the investment objectives. And it's true whether you were to work with me or whether you were to continue your current relationship with your current provider, is these investment objectives, safety of principal, liquidity, and then a market rate of return are paramount. And they are in this order for a specific reason. We don't want to mix any of these up. Safety of principal, our first order of business is to protect the funds of the district, to not even lose one penny. Our second point here is liquidity. So as we kind of dive into an investment strategy or implementing an investment program, is that the funds are available to the treasurer or to the district when you need to make payments, whatever those payments might be. And then lastly is a market rate of return. And we keep these in order, and we keep all of ourselves out of trouble. The next page is basically the permitted investments for Ohio school districts. You can go ahead out there and read the specific piece of code there, which is ORC 135.14. So that piece of code, along with the district's investment policy, is ultimately what drives what the district is allowed to do with their funds. You all do have an updated investment policy, and that was done in March of 2021. And that policy number is 6144 if you're ever interested in looking at it. But to save you the hassle of reading through code, and deciphering what all is allowed, it's right here on your page in front of you. In the world that there is of investing, there's this much, and school districts or public entities get this much. It's not a lot, and there's good reason behind that. Again, our goals are to first protect these funds, so that kind of eliminates a lot of options. What you see here on your page are fixed income instruments that, if not fully protected or insured by the U.S. Treasury, there's implied guarantees through the U.S. agencies, and then maybe a couple here that carry a little bit of credit risk, municipal bonds, and commercial paper. This is it. This is the world that we live in. We consider plain vanilla and ultra safe investments when it comes to district funds. As well, in fixed income, there is a wide range of maturities. It can go to 30 plus years. The district is confined to buying investments within 5 years of maturity. So we're not taking on long risk here. As well, they would have to get 6 hours of continuing education each year. You would have to already, just given your current an investment profile of what you're already buying. So that is easily done at OASBO's annual workshop. If not, there's multiple trainings throughout the year, virtual and in person. And that's done through the Treasurer of State's office, their Center for Public Investment Management. I'm sure Dave is very familiar with that. And then just a couple of these here, municipal bonds and commercial paper do require just a one-time class that you would have to take, so that there's just a little bit more training in those areas, again, because they carry maybe a little bit more credit risk. This is the part that I was talking about on the cash flow analysis. Is we're not just throwing a dart at the wall and coming up with some number that is the best number to invest funds. We kind of take a 30,000 foot view. Is here's where funds have been tracking over time. Here's where we kind of anticipate some spending. A great way to look at this is the district does a 5-year forecast twice a year. Looking at that forecast combined with previous cash flows gives you a good idea of the kind of steady balances. From those balances, we deduce here's how much should be in maybe the checking or savings account at the bank. Here's how much should be in like a money market fund, easily accessible but earning a rate of interest. And then maybe what is that core number that could be invested, and that's what we would do as Red Tree, is invest that portion. That is more of the core portfolio, but we do also advise on changing allocations. Maybe there's a reason to move funds back to the district. Where should those funds go? Because you might need those. Or, hey, I've seen the cash flows over the year, maybe keeping a little bit too much cash, maybe we should invest a little bit more. So it's that ongoing investment advisory kind of dynamic relationship. Through that, there's an investment process. So as the advisor, we do all of this heavy lifting. Is we're looking at the markets. We know we have this cash at hand that we need to invest. We invest those funds as maturities come due. If there are opportunities in the portfolio to reallocate in the best interest of the district, that's what we do. So we make those investment decisions. That's called discretionary investment authority. And so with all of these conversations that I would be having with Dave, communication with cash flows and the like, we then take that back to our office and then invest the portfolio. And then we report back on a monthly basis about all that activity that has occurred, how much interest has been earned and the like. And then it's, again, that kind of continuing process. Any questions so far?
I've got a few questions.
Okay.
Given the fact that with our 5-year forecast, 5 years down the road doesn't, it's not very palatable.
Yep.
And I assume that you've seen that.
Yep.
So, and looking also at our current investments, which all have pretty good rates, I mean, what can we expect from Red Tree on that?
Yeah, so I'll answer the first question about the forecast. I can tell you more forecasts that I have seen that are in the red by year 4 or 5 than I can tell you those that look truly great in the 5-year period. A lot of things can change in the 5-year period, and they often do. So that doesn't necessarily worry me. And we would invest in a manner in which we would honor that forecast and until things change, and then we could change the strategy. That's number one. Number two is you were asking about rates. So right now, you all bank, your main depository is Park National. Their money market rate right now is just somewhere north of 3%.
Right.
Your next option is the state-run money market program, Star Ohio, which their overnight rate's about 5.5%. And then the current investments with Fifth Third, I haven't seen the most up to date.
2 are in the 4% range, and I think one is below 1% right now, and there may be a third that was just recently purchased. I'm not sure where it is.
Okay.
But,
so we'll just say 4%, just for the sake of the conversation. Right now, investing cash in this environment, and I was just looking at rate 6, I was just doing this for somebody else. You're probably looking at, this is a blanket statement here, so with a giant grain of salt. Assuming no big needs from a portfolio, like somewhere a $3 to $5 million portfolio with a 1 to 1.5 year average maturity, so all of the investments combined, you're probably looking at somewhere around 4.5% to 5%. Probably not quite 5%, but somewhere around 4.5% to 4.75%. That's the market that we would invest in today. I can go back tomorrow and it's completely changed, and it has. The market has been quite volatile in the last month or two. With that is a long-term view. So that's where we invest money today. This is the option to lock in rates. Most of the funds of the district are not locked in. So the 3%, as the Federal Reserve changes rates, that changes. That could be up or down, looking like down right now. And then the Star Ohio rate is very much closely tied to the federal funds rate. So as the federal funds rate would decline, so would Star Ohio. The opportunity to lock in rates comes in with a portfolio and a relationship like this. And that's what we're proposing that the district would do.
And just for my personal, what I want is, because of that one investment that was purchased during the COVID time that has an interest rate that is not favorable, yes, I would like to get rid of it, but we will take a loss on that, but what can we do that would bring back the money that we lost and make even more money? That's where Red Tree would come in and help me dump that bad investment. I shouldn't say bad, that unfavorable investment for something that's much more favorable now. They have the expertise for that. And instead of me just taking a shot with something that looks like it has a nice interest rate, but will it make the money back from what we lose in the sale of the old investment? So I'm really looking forward to, if we do move forward with Red Tree, just looking forward to that relationship that can help make sure that I'm doing what's best for the district when it comes to our funding, our investments.
And I'm not saying that that's exactly what we would do. We would certainly entertain the idea. That what Dave is explaining truly comes down to, it's a math problem. Mm-hmm. If the math makes sense, let's go for it. If it doesn't, then we don't.
Yeah.
And it truly depends on the specifics of that certain investment, and then what is available in the market the day that you would move forward with that decision. So that would be something that we could look at. I don't want to say for sure that that's what we would do.
Right.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
What would we get out of Red Tree? Obviously, this is a large market. There's any number of options that we could choose probably in this area.
Yeah.
What are we getting from Red Tree that is an advantage to us over anybody else that we would go with?
Yeah, great question. I love the hard ones. So
We do.
the major difference in the current provider is a brokerage. He's a broker. So his sole job is to, and how they often work is when something matures, that's when he reaches out and says, hey, here's a couple of investments that I think would be a good fit for you. So in that sense, as long as it's a legal investment and it's also, they follow different standards, it's called suitability. He just has to sell you something that is legal. But all the other work truly is then relied on the treasurer. The treasurer has done all the cash flow analysis. The treasurer looked at the markets. The treasurer said, this is where I want to put this money. When you're dealing with one broker, you're only getting prices from that one institution. As an investment advisor, and when we purchase investments, if we say we want to purchase something, we'll go out to many brokers. 5 to 10 brokers per investment, because we manage $8 billion, we're buying big blocks. We're buying 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million at a time, better prices, and more breadth of market as well. And I don't want to call it a service, I will call it, we offer more of a service, and the brokerage relationship is more transactional. And on the advisory piece, again, is we do all of the heavy lifting. We're in the markets every day. We're making the investment decisions. This is what we do. This is all that we do. This is not all that Dave does. The role of the treasurer has changed so much over the years, and it's truly more of a CFO type role. And quite honestly, treasurers aren't trained as much as they were maybe in the past to do something like this, especially with bigger dollar amounts. I think the game changes a little bit.
So correct me, just as a follow-up.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but as a fiduciary, you only do well if we do well.
Oh, absolutely. So we're going to get to the fees in a minute.
Right.
Yes.
So if we're doing well, you guys are doing well.
Right, so-
brokerage,
Right.
they'll do well no matter what because it's transactional.
It's transactional. They make their money on selling the one investment, and then honestly, for the most part, they just go away. And then when there's another maturity that comes up, it's, hey, this is what I can offer you today.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. No, I like it. So
Did we answer all your questions?
Yeah, you're like truly invested
Okay.
in what happened.
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
in like, okay.
So I'll get to the fees in a second,
Okay.
but on the slide 8 is the communication and reporting. I know I've covered the communication extensively, and the last thing I'll say about that is we can't do our job well if we don't have a good line of communication. And the few months that I've been talking back and forth with Dave, he's really great, honestly. Great communicator, and if I ask for something, he's like, hey, here's this, like, well, let's continue to talk about this, and that's honestly what brought us here today, is Dave. The reporting piece, so after all the investing or after all the discussions about where funds should be in the district and the like, the reporting piece is our way of expressing results. And so on that, so there's two things. One is we do provide our own monthly statement. So these funds will have to sit somewhere. Right now, they're at Fifth Third because you use Fifth Third. I said we're not a bank, so we need to use a bank for this service. When we like to partner with U.S. Bank. There are not many banks in the United States who custody or who like to do custody for government funds. They are one of them. And so we use US Bank for that. That is a safekeeping account. It's sometimes called a custodial account. It is not a depository account, so there's no depository agreements or anything like that you would have done with Park. I say that because you'll get a statement from US Bank. I don't know how many of you read bank statements. Bank statements, they stink. So since the get-go, we've always done our own reporting. We balance to the US Bank accounts every single day. And then when month end comes, we actually produce all of our own cost accounting for the treasurer. And our month end statements are delivered to their inbox by 10 a.m. first business day. Our K-12 treasurers love to close the books on the first business day. We know that's important, and so we make that happen. The other piece of the reporting is if there's any additional reporting that you all would like to see or any further reviews, I leave that up to the client. Whatever it is that you felt would maybe be important or of use to you, let's talk about it and let's come up with something that you feel would be appropriate. Okay. How does all this, how do we get paid, right? That's the big question. So we charge what's called an assets under management fee. So to Mr. Thompson's point, that fee arrangement is exactly what he said. So when you all do better, we do better. So we all have a vested interest in this together. For our services, we charge 10 basis points.
I'd like to interrupt, Joe. I think I said 1 basis point last month, but when I said $3,000 on $3 million, that was still correct, right?
That's still correct.
So it should have been 10 basis points, but it's still 3,000 on 3 million. So
So $1,000 per million. So just to make it to dollar terms is a lot easier. That is our fee. US Bank does have a small fee for using them for custody. That is 0.6 basis points, or in dollar terms, that's $60 per million. So for your $3 million example, That would be 180, so $3,180 on a $3 million portfolio. That's an annual fee, so we cut that up into 12 months, so we would charge that on a monthly basis. And those fees would come directly out of the investment account. And so there's no like additional ACHing or wires or checks or anything like that. Very, very common practice. And this fee includes everything that I've talked about today. There's no nitpicky things. So there's other things that you all would like to talk about or do. It's truly like an all-inclusive fee. So if we were to do some other sort of reporting, I'm not charging you for that. It's truly, it's called a rep fee, if you will. Any questions on the fees?
Yes. On item 5 on page 2, you've got the fees laid out, and it mentions that it's asset-based, 0.20 or 0.20%.
Oh, that's the ADV.
Yeah.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then you have different fees for the non-discretionary consulting fees. So my first question would be, what's the difference, if you can explain, between discretionary and non-discretionary?
Yep. So discretionary is what I was talking about here tonight. That is how most of our accounts work, where we have the conversations about cash flows and things of the like. And then with that, we actually go out and purchase the investment, put it in the account. I'm not going to ask Dave, can I buy this? That's what non-discretionary is. So if we've had these conversations, I go out and find this investment, and then I have to track down Dave and say, hey, Dave, we really like this for the portfolio. Can we buy this? Yes or no? That would be a non-discretionary relationship.
Okay. And then beyond that, there was the other fees and expenses. So, and I'm assuming these other fees and expenses are over and above your fee as the advisor, correct?
So our ADV is a very kind of general statement that says, it basically gives a reader, if you like to read them, an idea of who we are, what we do, who our clientele is, what we could charge for that. But what I'm telling you here tonight is what is true for this district and for most other districts in Ohio. And that everything that I've said here about fees is exactly true. So the only fee that you're going to see from me is going to be the 10 basis points on the funds that we would manage for the district, and then the fee for US Bank, period, end of story. There are no other fees.
Okay.
That is a legalese document, and I'm sure you can appreciate the lawyerness in there about other fees and expenses. And that would probably be in our contract too, but it would say as an addendum, we are charging 10 basis points on assets under management, and then you would have a contract with US Bank that says this is the fee schedule that you're going to pay.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
I have a couple questions.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm unfamiliar with the term commercial paper.
Yes.
What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, so commercial
Sorry,
paper,
I'm
no, it's okay. To be quite honest with you, we don't get that question a lot, and we don't get it as much as I think we should. Commercial paper is basically an unsecured promissory note issued by a public company. So a great example, who we buy from is JP Morgan. So JP Morgan Bank issues this security type, and there's different variations of it, but the one that we're allowed to buy, it has a maximum maturity of 270 days or 9 months. There are other credit parameters in place. It has to be the highest rated, so that would be A1, P1. So there's a whole host of other issues as well, but it has to be the highest rated. You can only buy 40% of this for district funds, and as well, you have to have the class for this. But essentially what it is banks and other companies, they don't like to use their own cash. So what they do is, especially for a bank, they would like to have the cash on their balance sheet. And in lieu of using that, because especially banks need cash for various regulatory reasons, they'll issue debt, and then they use those funds to fund ongoing operations of the bank, like paying payroll or utilities or what have you. And then they just kind of re-roll that debt all the time. So there's no guarantee with that specific investment type. But there are very specific credit parameters that you have to meet in order for it to be an eligible asset for the district to purchase. You are paid for that.
It's not a guarantee.
Correct.
Like a CD. In a CD, you're not gonna lose money. Commercial paper does have some risk involved.
It's not zero.
But it's not a huge risk.
Right.
Like you said, there's a class that you have to take before you can invest in commercial paper. I have that class. I took it 8 years ago. Probably wouldn't hurt to take it again. But, some people really love commercial paper and some people don't touch it because they don't understand it. But it does provide more of a return than things with no risk. So, but Ohio Revised Code will allow us to do commercial paper, but we have to make sure that we do like what Joe said. We have to do the best rated and make sure that it's not a poor investment overall.
Yeah, and we keep an approved issuer list that we work off in our office, and we regularly maintain it. Outside of keeping up with like the latest credit profiles, is you can generally tell when things are going sour just by the rate that's being offered. So if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. That's one of the first indicators in credit. And so for that reason, we buy some of the biggest and the most safe. There are varying levels of A1, P1 type credits, and we don't stoop to those levels. We want the best. Again, we don't want to be in the papers. So our goal here is safety of principle, right? Yes.
You mentioned that this Form ADV is a lot of legalese, and I guess there's a lot of it that doesn't really apply to us or to you. But item 12 on brokerage practices, broker-dealer selection, does that apply to
As
us?
far as
It says the advisor selects the broker-dealer to execute trade orders for the client's account.
Yeah.
Unless the client has provided instructions to the advisor to the contrary.
Sure.
So do the brokers charge us fees over and above your fees too?
So this is where it works a bit different, right? So a broker, by their very nature, a middleman, is making a fee. When they sell to someone like you, their fee is larger. When they sell to someone like me, their fee is lower. For many reasons. We're an institutional buyer. We're going in with much higher dollars, and with much higher dollars, you get reduced fees. So I will not stand here and tell you that your fee is zero from them, because that is just not true. Otherwise, there'd be no brokers in the world, no middlemen. But their fees are much lower compared to what you all would face if they were to sell to you directly.
How would we see those fees, or just part of the transaction?
You'd have to go to your broker and say, hey, on that last security you sold me, how much was your fee?
Right.
And they'll never tell you.
Yeah.
And the same was for us,
I never see.
For some of those, for new issue securities, sometimes, just depending on the security type, there's a document that's created from that, especially if you buy like a security type on here, it's called a U.S. agency security. Sometimes you can find where, maybe the broker dealer makes like 50 cents a bond. It's super, super low. But again,
I've never seen a fee on the Fifth Third Statement, and when I pay $200,000 for a CD, that's what I book it as, is $200,000, and then I'm just collecting interest every time it's got a maturity, whether that's monthly or semi-annually or annually, and then when it matures, I get the $200,000 back. Never have I seen where they've charged me a fee and I got back less than the $200,000. So somehow
so I think
they're getting it, and whether that's taking it off of a little bit of the interest that comes in.
to your point, one thing I think is good to note here is whatever we buy the security at, whatever price we buy is the price that you all receive. We're not then marking that up for whatever price and then putting it in your portfolio. So whatever we pay for security out in the market is then directly placed into the district's account.
And that's what we would carry it on our statements, on our balance sheet as.
I guess, the reason I ask is because, you'd mentioned your fee is a fixed fee, et cetera, which sounds, it sounds really good. But then when I go through this ADV and I see all these other fees, it's kind of like, okay, your fee's one thing, but what are we getting into here where we got all these other fees coming up? But,
Right.
So maybe this ADV is not what they written on.
I can't control what a broker dealer is going to charge us, and nor can you if you were to work with a broker dealer, right?
Right.
I can't control that. I can control the fee that we charge the district. And for the fee that US Bank charges, we have heavily negotiated because of our asset size to give our clients a reduced fee. So for instance, if you were to, and that's, I'm trying to express that we're very fee conscious. If you were to go out and try and get safekeeping or custodial costs on your own, you would probably pay somewhere between 1 and 2 basis points on the dollars that you had in that account. Right now, just because of the dollars that we manage, your fee is 0.6 basis points. And we continue to renegotiate as our assets drive up north as well. I don't know how else I could put it to you.
That's fine. Just like that assurance.
Yeah. No, I very much understand. And I appreciate the questions because I want everything to be out on the floor and so that we can all see what we're looking at before we would enter into an agreement. And this is the best way.
Mrs. Dillard, I thought you had another question.
I did.
Sorry, we got off track.
I just would like for you to share some of your success stories. I see all these districts,
Yeah.
Can you brag a little bit?
Yeah, well, personally, success is, and actually a very similar situation. I work with Jeremy Frazier at Hamilton City Schools down in Butler County. And I worked with him when he was at Ross Local Schools. So I don't know if you're familiar with the districts in Butler County. But I inherited him. So as you all know, treasurers tend to move around from time to time. And so he was new to Red Tree. And so I kind of brought him on board and kind of over time built a relationship with him to show him this is what we do, this is how we work, and so on and so forth. He later went back to Hamilton City Schools. He was the assistant treasurer before. Then he went back as treasurer. At the time, they had a relationship with another brokerage firm through Huntington Bank. I think at its peak, it might have been a $20 million, $25 million account. And now, because of the relationship that I built with Jeremy, because of the trust that he has in what we do and how we operate, we have like a $30 million account with him that we built up over time. That was a huge success in winning somebody and showing them the advisory relationship and the capacity of what we do for our districts and for our clients. Another one, so I work with Milford Schools. They have a huge project ongoing. We did not work with them when the project started. About a year into the project, there was a treasurer change, and the treasurer brought us on board for a whole host of reasons. At the time, it was Fifth Third. And now we are the investment advisor there, managing their big projects, over $100 million, and their operating funds as well. It's to simplify a lot of things. When a project is ongoing, the treasurer truly wears 2 hats, or more than that. But a project is a beast for a school district. And so to have an investment advisory relationship in place and to kind of help guide them through that project, not only the investing piece, but also the accounting piece, because there are funds and certain ways that you do accounting that the treasurer don't know if they've never done a project before. So that's been a huge success as well for us. Those are just some local stories. I now work with my East local schools, that one, they weren't doing anything with their funds. It was in Star, Ohio, and sitting at the local bank. And it was kind of taking that leap forward and saying, you know what, I think this for the long term for the district would be a good idea. And so far it's been nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So just the last page, this is kind of a timetable, but in no way is it in concrete. But I wanted to provide you just something about how, the next steps forward, what that would look like is agreements would be one with Red Tree. So in our agreement, it's open-ended. There's no long-term agreement you're signing up for, no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 year period. The only thing in there is a 30 days notice. So if for whatever reason you felt our services were unsatisfactory, it would just be an official letter to us saying thank you, but no thank you for your services. The account that we would have managed would then become the district. It always is the district's. Every security or everything in that account is always in the district's name. It just becomes your account and then your securities. There would be the agreement with US Bank. So we would help kind of facilitate that process. So you would potentially use US Bank for the custody of the assets. And then from there is kind of working with Dave on a little bit more kind of cash flow detail and probably some sort of starting point, a couple $1 million to start, just get everybody comfortable with our process, how we work, and then we can talk about maybe building that over time if it made sense.
Yeah, we currently have just under $1 million in the third account, but we have more. We currently have 10 million in the Star Ohio account. I'd like to, like Joe said, start lower. I wouldn't mind just transferring the $1 million of what we currently have in those 4 investments over into the hands of Red Tree, and then move from there and see where we can go. Yep. So my goal or my plans then would be to potentially put this, if the board is interested, have this on the regular board meeting in the month of March for going and approving the agreement with Red Tree Investment Group. And if that's also the case, then probably have an agreement as well, or a resolution as well, for opening a U.S. bank account for the holding of those funds.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Jim. Have a good night.
All right, thanks. Thank you all. Thank you.
Is a discussion information about state signage. And I believe we got some papers about this too.
I shared this before, but I'm going to have a hard copy in front of you as well. One of the things we're looking to do is promote the good things that are happening at the school is also some signage, maybe to recognize some student successes, especially like state championships. I'm also going to look at, what about academic successes? So I just wanted you to be aware, and we'll look at them having an agreement with the city to put them out at the main entrances on 571 to the east and west, on Don Davis Way by the high school, and also on Evanston and South Hyatt roads. Maybe have a sign of kind of some of the main thoroughfares into the district to recognize the great things that are happening here at the school. So once I get some guidelines on my side, I'll share that with you to proceed forward. But it would be nice, I think, to have some things in place, and we have to figure out the fundraising piece of it and how we're going to pay for it. But I think it'd be nice to have something up in the summer before the school year starts of the successes we've had and recognition of past teams and future teams, hopefully.
I just had a couple of thoughts when I was reading through everything. Obviously, how much it would cost and what the split would be with the city, or is that completely on,
That would be completely, they would install,
they would involve?
they would install.
So along with that, what about, maintenance around the signage, like the and things like that?
I think it depends on where,
Okay.
who's responsible for it,
Okay,
whether it's easement or they come out, you know, they may mow it
right.
once a month or twice a month,
Okay.
whatever. Yeah, that would be our responsibility.
And then I know I've been in all over different cities have different materials in which they use when you come in and the signage is there. So sometimes it's larger wooden posts, big signage, sometimes it's metals, more of the metal stakes with the metal signage that can change out. So maybe just thinking about visuals on that would be helpful to get some feedback on that.
Yep, we can do that. We'd look to probably work with some local companies to try to figure out.
Yeah.
With some mock-ups of what it might look like.
Cool. Thank you.
So the east and west 571, that is not on the overpass of the
Correct.
highway? Because
No.
the city's doing something for that, right? They're working on,
I'm looking at more coming in off of like 25A,
Yeah.
coming in town that way, and on the east side of town, again, coming in from the,
571.
by everyone.
like by Canal Park.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little further out, but just, again, kind of by the edge of town there.
Okay. And will this, go back in time to like the previous state championship of the soccer team several years ago as well?
I think we'd like to include all the state championship teams. And again, there might be some academic stuff that we want to recognize as well. I think we want to recognize all of them, yeah,
Okay,
with room to grow.
Since this started, I keep looking every time I keep driving into a town or a city anywhere, and I keep noticing all of the signage. You'll start noticing it. And so oftentimes it'll say, football state champions, and then it'll have all the dates. It'll say stock, and then underneath it, soccer state home of the soccer, and it has all of the things. So, and some I have seen with the academics as well. So
It's a good idea.
I like it.
Yeah, I like the idea of recognition
Absolutely.
for a multitude of things too, not just the sports aspect of it, but that you're thinking larger than that too. Because I know we've had some I know we have one student I can think of specifically who's been here before that does amazing things, very smart, just won a national something, right? No, science fair, he just did science fair, right? But he did, he went to the national thing in Washington, wasn't that a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think recognizing not just the sports, but multitude of things is important.
2016 was the national, quiz bowl academic team.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that we would
Right.
recognize? I think that some things like that are.
And our band has done very well, and all of our the groups. Yeah, that would be great.
It makes sense percentage wise. There's so far fewer kids involved in sports
Mm-hmm.
than there is in academics or anything else, but sports tends to get all the hype in those places.
Yeah.
I agree. I really like the idea that we're including everybody.
So be looking for that coming up in the next
Awesome.
few months.
Great.
Okay, so I'll move that for later board meeting, possibly April. Okay. Gotta make my notes, so I don't forget things. Okay. All right, next, I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session for purposes authorized under Board of Education Policy 0166 and ORC 121.22, G1, G2, and G3. For public content, you can read below what we're looking at. Official action may follow the executive session. It doesn't have listed.
It's under content.
Yes, but I mean,
Oh, no.
who's going, who will be invited, so
Just,
board and.
Yep.
And, okay. So public content is to consider the employment of a public employee or official. G2 is to consider the sale of property, at competitive bidding. And G3, conference with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. I'll second it. All right. Motion by Mrs. McMurray and seconded by Mrs. Dillard. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote.
McMurray,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right. 6:50, and we're heading to executive session. This is at 8:09 PM, and we are back from executive session. All right, next is our upcoming meeting. And this is for information. So our next regular board meeting of education will occur on March 19th, 2024 at LT Ball Intermediate School beginning at 6 PM. And then our next work session meeting will occur on October 2nd, 2024.
April 2nd.
Huh?
April 2nd? You said October?
April, thank you. Our next work session meeting will occur on April 2nd, 2024 at the Board of Education office beginning at 6 PM. Really quick, I just found out, well, I guess I really kind of wanted to have a discussion because I know like life happens and things change as we kind of move along. So I have an issue with our April 16th meeting. So my daughter made nationals for cheer. So we'll be in Orlando. Yeah, I'm very excited for her. She's excited. So I won't be here at our meeting. I didn't know if you guys would possibly entertain the idea of switching it, or you guys still wanted to have it, or what we kind of wanted to do. So, yeah.
What are your dates that you're gone?
So I'll be gone the 16th through the 22nd. So if we wanted to move it to that Monday,
We did entertain in our organizational meeting the idea of not doing a work session and a regular meeting
oh, we did talk about
at a certain point in time. And I'm not sure when that threshold would be, or if we
Yeah.
feel like that would still be an option, but if we wanted to start something like that in April, we feel like the work sessions are superfluous. Then it's possible, is it possible that we just move our regular meeting to April 2nd and we go monthly from then on, or do we still feel like we need these work sessions? Just posing a question.
That's an excellent thought as well.
I would just add, for the treasurer's portion of the meeting for regular session, April 2nd would not be enough time for me to prepare the financial report for the month of March.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean, I mean, we can postpone that because we've done it already this year. So, but I'm just saying, having it that early would not allow for me to have financial reports that quickly.
Because that's your second day,
That is the second day of the month.
Yeah.
Now, Joe earlier mentioned that we try to have it done the first. But I just wanted the board to be aware of that.
Okay.
I think that I would like to get to that point, but I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like we're still learning some things, which is okay. And I feel like if we could just have maybe another couple of months, and then we had talked about maybe entertaining it in June, looking at it. So make that possible. That's my thoughts.
I agree. I feel the same way that you need a few more months of work sessions to feel comfortable in this role.
Yeah.
I would suggest that we could possibly, the regular meeting is scheduled fairly early in the month and maybe move it to the following week is that the 23rd?
There's actually 5 Tuesdays in April. So,
The 23rd would be still, we'd have 2 weeks before the next workshop.
yeah,
That works.
Is there
Check your
anything else
calendar,
on the
guys.
calendar though? Is that, when is spring break? I forget.
no, it's the end of March.
And is there like any
Me too.
special events or anything or school?
I know there's varsity softball, but that's literally every night of the week, so.
It works for me.
It works for me, and I can't anything.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, I would love to move that meeting because April 16th is my son's birthday.
oh, so
So
see, we got 2 conflicts, I think we're gonna move it. Rick, does that work for you guys?
April 23rd. Great.
Okay, Aaron and Dave, is that
It's okay.
feasible for you guys?
So do we have to put that on the next agenda, the regular meeting to move the meeting, or can we do it now?
You could take.
Yeah, we can make a motion now to move it, if you're,
That for you? I'll make a motion to move the meeting to April 23rd and then the April regular meeting. Okay, that's right. Yeah.
April 16th, regular meeting.
Regular board meeting, yeah, perfect. Move the April 16th regular board meeting to April 23rd.
Okay, sounds perfect. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so moved by Mrs. Dillard and seconded by Mr. Maines. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote.
Dillard,
Yes?
Maines,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
McMurray,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So, the regular board meeting for April 16th will be moved to April 23rd at 6 PM. Any other stuff for the good of the organization? All right, at this time, I'll take a motion for adjournment of the meeting.
All motion.
Moved by, Mrs. McBurney. I will second it. And we can go ahead and do a vote. Mr. Stevens?
McMurray,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.